What's going on, guys? We are back with another episode of the Daybreak podcast. You know me and Luke, we are your co hosts, and we have a special guest with us, our friend Neil from North Carolina. Neil, introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Neil.
All right, gnarly.
Great introduction.
Beautiful.
Quality content.
Amazing. So this episode, you know how we usually do with our week in review. Then we're gonna go talk about some comic book stuff in the MCU. It's gonna be very, very exciting. And I'm really just gonna be sitting here. I'm kind of taking a back seat this episode, and letting Neil and Luke do a bunch of the talking. I'm just kind of gonna be picking their brains and being like the annoying little brother, asking stupid questions. So
No, this episode is definitely going to be more of a deep dive into Marvel characters.
oh yeah, it's gonna be exciting. But first, let's talk about anyone do anything special this week. Let's start with Neil. Actually, Neil, you do anything special this week?
I did nothing but sit in my game room and play Overwatch all week.
That's a vibe. That's a vibe.
That's
Oh,
Luke.
sounds like a good time.
yeah.
All right, Luke. What about you, G?
Nothing much has been going on this week. I mean, I guess I went to see my family. That was cool. I hung out with them.
It's sick.
Yeah.
All right,
Now I'm back here.
there you go. I had a really exciting weekend that I want to talk about.
Hey.
So, the week I really didn't do much. I was obviously back in North Carolina for spring break, visiting family, Luke, Neil, seeing all the homies. But Friday I went to Boone, North Carolina, hung out with my amazing ex-girlfriend Shannon. And I know people are like, "Your amazing ex-girlfriend?" And yes, my amazing ex-girlfriend. She's super nice, super sweet.
What? You can be friends with an ex after you break up?
I know, dude. It's
What?
wild. It's like being mature. Oh my god. Bye. So, bye. So, anyways, I hung out with her. It was super fun. And then Saturday, I played in a spike ball tournament, and it was actually the last spike ball tournament I am playing with my old partner now, Josh. So the Techies as a spike ball team are finally retired. We will not be playing with each other anymore, which is kind of sad,
Damn.
but stuff happens, you know? It is what it is.
Hey, but what a legacy
What a legacy, you
you
know?
guys have left.
No, but
You've
seriously,
really made your mark on the spike ball community and in the pro scene in general. You
we
have been
didn't go into
seen
pros.
as
We did not go
like
into pros.
15th place made in that tournament.
We got fourth on
Okay.
Saturday. Okay.
Alright.
So me and Josh, you know, me and Josh are both really good players, but we just don't play well together. We just played together because it was a good time, because we were friends. But yeah, so the Techies are finally retired. And then today, as you can see, I am no longer with Luke, and I'm in my apartment back in Florida. So I drove back today. So that was exciting. And I also almost got into a car accident on the drive back, which is super fun,
Oh.
with a semi truck. Yeah, I was driving and I was on 95. And I was cruising at a very legal speed. And this semi truck comes in, and I'm like semi truck's going, I'm going, you know, I'm passing the semi truck. And homeboy just like no blinker, anything, just like swerves in. And I was like on the far left lane, bro. So I honk my horn, and he jerks it back, and his thing almost like flipped over. Like his trailer almost
Holy
flipped
fuck.
over, and if it flipped over, it was literally going to crush me. And
Oh my
but
God.
thankfully, it did not flip over, and I didn't get in a car accident. I am still very much alive. But it definitely had the
Thank
adrenaline pumping. It was also at like the
Oh yeah.
it was at like the halfway mark of my drive. So it was like a little jolt of awake, you know. It was like the all right, you know what? Now I'm really zoned in. So yeah, that was pretty much my week. it sounds like we all did not have that eventful of weeks, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Sounds
it's
like you
that.
did.
Hey, near-death experience.
Yeah.
So,
No big
It
deal.
builds character.
yeah, it builds character, exactly. All right. So, usually we have 3 topics. This week, we really only have 1. But we're pretty much going to be talking about superheroes in the MCU. Luke,
Yeah, that's
we
a wide topic though.
yeah, it is a
Like-
wide topic. It's a pretty wide topic. Like,
Yeah.
you can definitely do a whole
Yeah,
podcast on it.
Saying that the topic is superheroes in the MCU is like saying the topic is humans on Earth.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much actually.
Like I got the Marvel Encyclopedia in the other room. And that thing's like this big. Like
And
Lo-
that
yeah.
is
It's
all
low key.
those.
It's low key bigger
That's-
than an actual encyclopedia. But
right, exactly. To actually know, because it's taller, so it's bigger than an actual encyclopedia.
well, there you go.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, we all chose. Well, I guess Neil and Luke chose superheroes, and they're gonna be talking about their superheroes, and I'm gonna be picking their brains. So, Luke, decide if you want to go first or if Neil wants to go first. I'm gonna get a water. That's right there. I'm not going far.
Oh, all right. Well, seeing as how Neil's character is going to get the longer discussion, I'd like to talk about Scarlet Witch right quick
Mm-hmm.
because
Oh,
holy shit, dude!
may I just say, I'm not a big comic book guy. I'm not a big comic book guy, as you guys know, but
Mm.
WandaVision was so good. So good.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
granted, the first few episodes were kind of slow, but yeah. Anyways, Luke, pop up.
Okay.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to ask a few questions first. How
Yes.
did y'all feel about Scarlet Witch before WandaVision?
So what I was saying was, so like, I've known her from the comics, and I had known that she was one of the strongest characters in the Marvel universe. I just didn't know to what extent. Like, I knew she'd murdered. Like, I didn't know that she'd murdered the Avengers and the X-Men until today. I had a Johnny call me up because I knew he had just read House of M the other day. I had him call me up at like 7:30 or 8:30 and like give me a quick recap of House of M. And I didn't realize that she'd murdered the Avengers and the X-Men. I thought that was really cool, just to show how badass she is. Is that she is?
Yeah.
Wait, she murdered
all
the
of-
Avengers?
Yes, she murdered
What?
most of the Avengers and most of the X-Men. And then that's what House of M was that she's in this situation where everybody wants her dead. Like, the rest of the X-Men and the rest of the Avengers have come together, teamed up, and they are now hunting her down. And so Pietro comes up and he's like freaking out. He's like, this is the only way that you can make this right, and that is to create a universe where everything is perfect, where everyone is happy, and then that will be okay. And then Wolverine, who has never had his complete memory in his life, never once had his complete memory, was sitting there being able to remember everything of his life, going like, okay, something's weird. And then Spider-Man, who had his spider sense, was able to kind of tell that something was off, but he really liked the world that she had put him in, so he did not care.
Mm-hmm.
It was and I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent for House of M, but
Oh yeah, no, please do.
Scarlet Witch is so great. And
Oh yeah.
especially, like, I had already known that she was badass, but then now, especially after watching this show, I think that she is just such a fantastic character, and I really like what they're doing with her in this series.
Mhm.
And I kind of, at first, I was excited that this was going to be House of M, because I was like, oh, thank God, House of M.
Mhm.
But I kind of want to see Scarlet Witch murder the Avengers and the X-Men. Like,
Yeah.
Well, that would be sick. That would be
Yeah.
so
No,
sick. And
no.
I think they could do that in a movie that's like,
no,
I feel
because
like-
if they're going to do now, they're going to do Dark Phoenix, and that's going to be 10 years from now, like 5 years from now, maybe.
I don't know.
No,
I would like to see
doubt-
I would
doubt
like to see a Marvel movie, but about it. But.
I doubt Marvel is ever gonna go near the Dark Phoenix storyline anytime in the future, just because Dark Phoenix and X3 were both tries at the same storyline and they both failed.
I hear what you're saying, but it's such a good storyline, and now they can introduce a lot of like the Spider-Man aspects that they weren't able to introduce before. Actually,
I think
she's in a line of Dark Phoenixes in the same way that Spider-Man is in the line of Spider People.
Yeah. What is it like? This?
Wait, are you talking? Quick question.
Podium, yeah.
Quick question. When you say she's in the line of Dark Phoenixes as Spider-Man's in the line of the multiple, like, are you talking like multiverse type stuff?
No, I'm talking about throughout history, like an Avatar kind of sense.
Okay, I got you.
The world's always going to have a totem. Like the Earth is always going to have a spider totem, but the universe is always going to have a Dark Phoenix totem. So that's why it's a little less like common.
Okay, I got you.
I believe. I don't know for sure. I just remember reading a Dark Phoenix thing, and like there was a lot of Spider-Man, and yeah.
I got you.
Dark Phoenix is a good storyline, but it's the movie adaptations have not been good. But I'm really glad that WandaVision worked out as an adaptation of like House of M. Like there's an Avengers comic that it was based after, and then the Scarlet Witch and the Vision, that comic series, like the 60s sort of style.
Yeah, they were able to like put all of those major arcs together into, semi-major arcs.
Yeah, and they still found a way to keep us on our toes the entire time. Like it's the same type of story, but it's told in a completely different way, and I think that's really cool that Marvel can consistently do that.
Oh yeah. But Disney's always been able to consistently do that. Like you got to look at all of those classic fairy tales and the Grimm's Brothers stuff. Like that.
Let me counter with Star Wars.
Okay.
Neil has this face. Neil has this face whenever he makes a really good point, like a mic dropping point, and someone else counters with another mic dropping point. He just like looks up like, damn, I just got schooled. Every time.
You gotta own up to it. But like Star Wars wasn't the best part about it, but that's because that's not what they were supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be continuing the same story, not putting it in their own vision. And
yeah.
But how do y'all feel about when do y'all think that they're going to introduce all these X-Men that are supposedly being made?
I have a point. Wait, I have an idea on this.
Well, okay. I know the X-Men themselves, like the team, is being introduced in Deadpool 3, but when do we think we're going to actually get into like the mutants?
So, okay. I think because X-Men is a part of Marvel, correct? So, here's my thought on it. I think they just had this long-ass series where they had all these movies leading up to Endgame, pretty much. That seemed like it was like the whole goal of the MCU movies wise, right? And then obviously it got followed up with Spider-Man, and he's like, "Oh, I see Tony everywhere," and I'm like, "Peter, stop being a bitch," Anyways,
that was like,
yeah, right. Thank you. Anyways, so I think. After this multiverse,
one movie that set up their relationship, like they didn't need like all that. Yeah. Like I understand, but like
yeah. So here's my thing. I think the Spider-Man multiverse movie is gonna come out with Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, and that's gonna happen. Okay. And I think the movie after that is gonna be a rebuild almost of like okay, we're gonna add the X-Men in and we're gonna do more stuff. I don't know necessarily how they're going to do that, but I think that's what's going to happen.
Might I offer a differing theory?
100%. No. Like you're way more well versed in this than I am. So
I think that Spider-Man 3, while largely being related to the Scarlet Witch and her multiverse-breaking powers, as it says No Way Home, or they actually might just be on the run because fucking Mysterio name-dropped him on the Daily Bugle.
I really think it's going to be that.
I think that's going to be it, because Tom Holland said that he hasn't seen Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire on set, and we all know how bad he is about spoiling things.
Well, we're saving all those things till the end, yeah, because he's spoiling.
I think what's going to happen is in Spider-Man 3, we are going to get a post-credit scene where Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are thrown into this universe because of like some mysterious disturbance, and that would be Multiverse of Madness.
Well,
Start of Multiverse.
So you think it's gonna go? You think it's gonna go Spider-Man 3, then the post-credit scene, and then it's gonna be the whole multiverse movie?
I think the post-credit scene
is going to be
it's going to be like the initial event that starts Multiverse of Madness is going to put Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in the post-credit scene of Spider-Man 3, and that's gonna they're gonna have like a whole like,
yeah, they're gonna.
I hope they remake the meme.
But I think that's gonna set up Multiverse of Madness, and also I don't know if they're gonna remake the meme because Into the Spider-Verse already did it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, but I feel like every time the opportunity is there, I want to see it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good joke to play on.
Yeah. See, I heard that they were gonna introduce like the multiple Spider-Men in Multiverse of Madness, but I thought that they were gonna explore more on Scarlet Witch in Multiverse of Madness, and if they're doing Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, and these two different universe Spider-Men, that just seems like a lot.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's just gonna be a mystery movie, basically a dimensional anomaly happens and random people are showing up out of nowhere, people are disappearing, alternate versions of people are like coming and going, and nobody knows what's going on. Something like that. I don't know. I don't have any inside intel, but like I think Doctor Strange is going to pick up on this and be like, there's some fucking witchcraft shenanigans going on here. Time to do the bop bop wah and then travel through time.
The bop bop wah. All right, yeah.
Bop bop wah.
All right, yeah.
There's this one comic that I read where they were Spider-Man was on a mission with Doctor Strange, and he was like had to do something between the dimensions for something. He had to go into like the mystical realm between dimensions and shit like that. Mm-hmm. And Doctor Strange was on like a different mission, so he couldn't like guide him or escort him. He was just like, okay, go, here's this cape that'll let you travel through it. Like, be careful, don't stray off the path. But he strayed off the path, and that's where we get Morlun, who hunts down the different spider people, and that's the plot of the original Spider-Verse movie. Mm-hmm. Like, so now do we think that we're going to have something where this is going to introduce Morlun, and then maybe later on we're going to get like a Spider-Man 2099 because Morlun's hunting both of them?
That's an interesting
really cool.
take.
I would enjoy that, and I do think that Disney is looking into like Spider-Verse options so that Tom Holland isn't the only Spider-Man that they can rely on, because we already know that Sony is going to use Tom Holland in their Venomverse as Spider-Man. Yeah.
Thank God.
Yes, they're I think it was like 2 years ago, or it was either in like 2019 or 2020 that Kevin Feige said that Spider-Man is going to be the first superhero in the MCU to appear in 2 different movie franchises.
Okay.
As the same Spider-Man.
then wait, wasn't but then there was somebody else that was in both of them, right? It was Michael Keaton. Isn't the Vulture in both of them?
Yeah, well, the Vulture was seen in the trailer for Morbius, which is set in the Venomverse.
Yeah.
But
Well, wait.
what's weird there is that there's like graffiti of Spider-Man on the wall where it says murderer, but it doesn't use the MCU Spider-Man suit. It uses the Raimi suit. It's weird, right?
Maybe they I really can't. I can't. Maybe they're gonna mix up, or I don't know.
Maybe they're gonna treat Sony's like Venomverse as like an ultimate universe. Maybe way Sony can introduce people like Miles Morales and
I would love to see. So I was a big fan of Into the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales. I would love to see a live action Miles Morales movie.
Yes, I would love to see that live action version.
I already know who I want to play Miles Morales, and he has not acted in any movie. Hector Sanchez.
Who?
Literally, he is one of my.
That you made a short film with.
Dude, no, I didn't make a short film with him. But he's like a good like base actor. He probably has no shot at playing Miles Morales, but he acts like how I would want a Miles Morales to act in general. So I'm like, dude, come on, like, just get your name out there. Let's get lit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I don't. There are a lot of good people to choose as Miles Morales.
Oh, I'm real upset that did you guys know? I'm real upset that that Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, is out the door. But did y'all know that the whole idea of Miles Morales came from it was like some guy at Marvel was watching Community one day and saw Donald Glover in his Spider-Man pajamas and was like, hey, we should have a black Spider-Man, and came up with Miles Morales. And they referenced that with that store-bought costume that Miles Morales had in Into the Spider-Verse. That was supposed to be a reference to Gambino.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
I like that.
Love that. I noticed that.
See, his afro was like a little bit more like Troy's, like a little bit more out than in the comics. He's got like the close shave.
Yeah, like the Spider-Man PS5.
Yeah.
Look. I really liked Miles' design in Into the Spider-Verse. It really fit in.
I think it was like a great combination of like immature but also ready and able to take on the challenge kind of thing. Like he looks young but not too young to where he wouldn't be able to do it. You know?
He looks the appropriate age for a coming of age story. I really like that. I don't know. Miles Morales in Spider-Man PS5, the Miles Morales game, he was also a really good take on Miles. I'd like to see a cross between the two.
I see what you mean. Like a hybrid? But I don't know. He seemed a little too built for me, honestly. Like,
I mean, like maybe a slimmer version of. Yeah.
I have a question. I have a question.
Marvel app with all those Miles Morales comics that I've been asking you to read. That is like, I mean, it's like I can say it's the perfect Miles Morales thing because it's the original. But I just really like the way that they did him in there. It's like he's not too built, but he's not too scrawny, and like his hair is great. It's great.
Okay, so I have a question. Peter Parker is more, I guess, like kind of nerdy, dorky, kind of witty though, very witty, and like his more witty and I guess not necessarily cocky but more confident side is when he's in the Spider-Man suit. For Miles Morales, is he like, because I don't read a lot of the comics, the only exposure I've had to Miles Morales is the PS5 Spider-Man game and Into the Spider-Verse. Is he supposed to be in school just this nerdy guy that's witty like Peter, or is he supposed to be a completely different like personality type?
He is a completely different personality. He's more he's a lot more confident and a lot more charming than Peter Parker. He's a really good dude. Like he's one of those guys that, like, if you're walking down the hallway and you see him, everybody is dapping him up down the hallway. And like you're not about to fucking stop. Like you're about to dap him up too. You know him, you're good friends with him.
Yeah.
See, the thing about him is he's still like on the nerdier side, and I think that the main reason that there's that difference in, like, he can walk through the halls of his school and be fine while Peter couldn't was because Peter was in a private school in the middle of, like, Brooklyn or some shit, while Miles Morales goes to a smart kids boarding school, like at a place where, like, he kind of has to know the people. I feel like that's like while he is, like, a little bit more charming than Peter Parker, that's also like
I'm sorry. That's not necessarily true, because at the beginning of Into the Spider-Verse, you can see him, like, on his, I think it was like his first day at Brooklyn Visions. Like
you can't walk away with, like, the happy ending of the movie where he becomes acclimated with his school.
No. I mean, like, at the beginning of the movie, when he's walking to school, he's like, he's very charismatic. He's talking to everyone on the street.
He passed his public school. He passed the school he went to before the school he was about to go to, and was like, seemed like he was talking with everyone that was at the school.
Yeah, the before he went to Brooklyn Visions, he went to a public school. He went to, like, just a public Brooklyn middle school.
That is true. So he is a little bit more charismatic.
Yeah, but I think that's mainly to show that Miles Morales is more comfortable and more charismatic when he's Miles. He's not as comfortable being Spider-Man because Spider-Man exists.
Well,
He
doesn't want to rip him off almost.
Exactly. He doesn't want to. He wants to honor the original Spider-Man, but he wants to do it in his own way. That's, like, the whole point of Into the Spider-Verse and Miles Morales PS5. But I think Miles and Peter are supposed to be almost opposites of each other. They're both extremely smart, and they both share, like, fundamental moral compasses, but their situation with, like, their personal lives and their heroic lives, it's completely switched up.
Yeah.
Spider-Man is a lot more confident when he's Spider-Man because he doesn't have to act like he's not as powerful. He doesn't have to, like, hold himself back. Miles Morales is more comfortable with everyone else when he's not Spider-Man because he has a giant, like, he has big shoes to fill. If he's
right, think about it this way: of the fact that this character is 5 years old. Like, this character was made in 2016, so they really haven't had, like, he hasn't had too many opportunities to prove himself, other than maybe, like, Civil War II, where didn't he have to, like, fight Captain America or something?
Civil War II was all about
it was Iron Man and Captain Marvel.
Someone predicted that a building that a school would blow up, and then it did, and then he predicted that Miles Morales was going to kill Captain America. So Captain Marvel was like, "I'm sorry, kid, we can't take any chances," while Captain America himself was like, "Kid, I know that you don't want to hurt me, and I know you're not going to. Like, I'll help you through this, and we can get through it together."
See, and there's, like, it's still, like, there's, like there hasn't been much happening in Miles Morales' storyline so far. Like, he hasn't had a Gwen Stacy death. He hasn't had
these iconic storylines.
He has not gone through the struggle, bruh. He has not faced the hardships of being a Spider-Man. Also, to Luke's point of having the big shoes to fill, like, that is a huge responsibility. Not necessarily being the next Spider-Man, but trying not to be Spider-Man's sidekick and trying to be almost your own thing while this other Spider-Man exists in your city. You know what I'm saying?
originally, Peter Parker and Miles Morales were only together for a short amount of time before Peter Parker dies.
Mm-hmm.
I had this question. So in Into the Spider-Verse, Peter Parker died from the big boss guy. What was his name?
Kingpin.
Thank you. So he died from Kingpin. Kingpin was like Hulk smash on his chest, right? And I was like, dang, bruh, that's beat. Is that how he died in the comics too?
I don't know how he died.
Because if he died like that in the comics, that is a bitch way to go out. No cap.
No, I think because that was way too quick of a death, and like if he died in the comics, it was at the end of a big arc that was probably like 15 years at least in the making.
I actually think that it was in one last battle with Green Goblin.
Was it?
Oh, you think Green Goblin clapped his cheeks? That sounded sus. Pause.
Norman.
Bye. But so you think Green Goblin killed Spider-Man?
I think so, but I think he stopped the Green Goblin.
I think that's a romantic way to die almost, because
it's even better. The death, he takes a bullet for Captain America that was shot by the Punisher, and then the Punisher immediately realizes what he did and then turns himself in, because he was like Captain America. He was like all full of rage to kill Captain America, sees that he killed Spider-Man, Peter Parker, one of like the most wholesome people, and turns himself in.
Damn.
Dude,
yeah,
okay.
No, that'll fuck you up.
That's
okay.
Up. Yeah, that's a
Spider-Man.
Dude, because I was about to say
Mm-hmm.
that's like Spider-Man. That's like Spider-Man doing some heroic shit. Like, my problem with how he died in Into the Spider-Verse was Kingpin just going like Hulk smash. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was it was so quick. It was like, okay, he fought big monster dude, but like, come on, you know what I'm saying?
I think the way that they did Into the Spider-Verse and that original Spider-Man story is actually really cool, because after he dies, you learn more about like his original like struggle with Kingpin, like through flashbacks. Like, you see Kingpin remembering the night his family got murdered. His family walked in on him fighting Spider-Man.
Oh, also, right quick, sorry to interrupt, but to go back. While in the main universe, probably the Amazing Universe, the one that started in the 50s, he died by taking a bullet for Captain America. But Luke, you were right. In the Ultimate Universe, where Miles Morales comes into play, the reason that Miles Morales is the only Spider-Man is because he was fighting the Green Goblin.
Okay, the Green Goblin is a very romantic way to go out, because wasn't that like his first foe?
Well, in this universe, it might be different, because this Green Goblin is I'm trying to start the Ultimate Spider-Man comics soon, actually, because that starts in 1999, and from 1999 to now, we have all of Spider-Man, all of Peter Parker, and then Miles Morales.
Yeah, I really like this idea of passing down mantles to different people, and I would sort of be okay if they let Peter Parker's character rest in the comics. He doesn't.
I don't know about that one, Chief.
Because I think Miles Morales fills a more modern Spider-Man role, and the fact that they're not making new Spider-Man content in the comics doesn't mean that we're not going to get new Spider-Man content through movies, and it doesn't mean that we don't have fucking 60 years of comics.
Yeah. There's dude, getting into comics.
Have y'all actually ever tried to read a comic made before 1995? It's awful.
No.
So here's my thing. Here's my thing with the comics. Because I read DC-wise, I read The Killing Joke, because my brother was like, yo, if you're going to read one comic, you have to read this comic. So
Killing Joke is fit.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So
I read Killing Joke. But I'm scared to read the Marvel comics because it's super intimidating. because there's just so much to get through, dude.
No, Kevin, I was in that exact same boat. But all you got to do, like, all I did, I Googled starting off point for Spider-Man, and then I figured out that in 1999, they not only rebooted the whole universe with Ultimate Spider-Man, but they also, like, they created a jumping off point from that original Spider-Man to where they aren't going to mention anything that happened before too often, and if they do, they're going to give you at least a page or two of recap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and that's a great way, and that's what I was trying to tell you to read the other day. I think that was a great way for them to introduce it. But my problem is with it, and like you're both right and wrong to be intimidated by that, because all the more mainstream ones, like Avengers, there's new Avengers comics that are killer. Like you got like Spider-Man, and there's like so many jumping off points for that. But like Fantastic Four, I'm struggling to find a jumping off point.
Yeah, there are a lot of comics, especially in these like multiversal stories, that like it's intimidating because you feel like you're gonna run into a lot of references that you don't know because you didn't read the material beforehand.
But also, on that point, they do a lot of the time. They'll have like a little thing. They'll be like, "Oh, not sure what they mean by," like they'll have like a little like addendum to the speech bubble and be like, "Oh, not sure what they mean by this. Check it out in this comic," and then you go back and read that comic. But the one problem with that is that if you keep doing that, you'll end up going down a rabbit hole and spending like $50.
Yeah, and like that. Every time you run into that is probably going to be a different story.
Exactly. And then you're going to be a bit confused. So at some point, you just have to jump in, accept that you're not going to understand everything, and then once you're sure that you're not going to get spoilers, go back and get the Wikipedia page.
Okay, so it's kind of like... Okay, I'm kind of equating this to like jumping into Naruto Shippuden without watching original Naruto.
Exactly.
Okay.
And there's going to be some stuff that you miss, but if you really think that you need to know it, it's 2 Google searches away. Like that's the main thing on it. And once you have that attitude enough, eventually you won't need to have that attitude because you have read all the stuff.
Yeah, you'll know. Because I'm guessing here's what my thing. You said there was like that little like kind of index where it was like, if you don't know what they mean by this, go and read this comic. I'm guessing like the more you read, the more you just kind of understand. Like you're like, oh, okay. So like, here's my question. Here's my question. Did you read the comics all the way through from like that jumping off point from 1999 till now, and then did you go back and reread because you were like, oh, I have an understanding on what they meant on this stuff?
Well, no. See, what I did was I started, and I'm really glad that you got me into this whole little tangent because I got a little bit on this. But I started at the jumping off point, and I read up until about 2008, I think it was. And this specific one, I think, went until like 2012. And so I was about 50 comics shy from finishing the whole thing, or 50 volumes maybe, I don't know. But and I read up until 2008, and see, while it was like nothing, like I'm not going to read into the future and understand what they're saying then, but like there was not one single point where I sat there and was like, I really can't understand what they're saying. I need to go back and read something. But on that note, a lot of this stuff is subjective. Like really, like I'm reading this comic book that's already supposed to be a jumping off point. I get all the way to Civil War, and I get all the way to Civil War in this like comic universe, and at that point, I don't know like if y'all know the Spider-Man side of Civil War, but in that he at the end of Civil War, like he gave up his name and then he switched sides to Captain America, so Tony Stark wasn't protecting his family anymore. So Kingpin hired somebody to kill Aunt May. And so after he like murdered Kingpin as Peter Parker, not as Spider-Man, he took the mask off, he took the shirt off.
You told me about that. That's so raw, dude. That is so raw.
Kingpin was like, what are you going to do? You're Spider-Man. You have that moral code. And he was like, no, I'm not here as Spider-Man. I'm here as Peter Parker. You killed my aunt and you're going to get your shit rocked. And I love that. But after that, he has to make a deal with Mephisto. Or he doesn't have to. He did not have to. And this pisses me off that he did this. He made the wrong decision. He sat there with Mephisto and was like, and Mephisto said, do you want me to bring back this 60 to 80-year-old woman and then in exchange for you having never have met Mary Jane in your entire life? Not once. Never met her, never married her. And he said yes. They were already married at this point. They were already like, they were just separated and got back together. It was awful. And then here's the
no, honestly, what was Kingpin thinking? Like, that is such a waste of murder. She was about to die in a few years anyway.
Facts, bro. Like, dude, she's gonna kick the bucket sooner or later. Like, chill out, man. No need to jump the gun. Like.
Well, and see, that pissed me off because right before that, all of this like great stuff happened. Like Spider-Man had just gotten his natural webs, and he had just gotten a big power buff. Because as I was saying earlier, Morlun hunts the spider people and eats them. Well, in this, something happened. Like he'd like hit Mary Jane, and then Spider-Man came out of a coma, turned into a spider, and ate Morlun instead. And because of that, he got this huge power buff. And he had like his spidey senses were so heightened that he was practically Daredevil. He could stick stuff to his back, no problem.
Homeboy don't need backpacks, bruh.
Exactly, and he had like the natural web shooters that at one time he was up against Iron Man getting revenge for for Aunt May's death. And he was like, you said you'd protect them, and then so he was like, let's see how much webs these shooters can do. He filled up an entire alleyway and completely immobilized Iron Man.
Damn.
And then, but after he made that deal with Mephisto, I'm reading these comics, none of that's there anymore. It was a soft reboot, and it pissed me off. I can't remember which comic I read this on, but there was one comic where the intro was like had a bunch of speech bubbles, and it was like Spider-Man just made a deal with Mephisto. He's no longer met Mary Jane, but Aunt May still lives. If you're wondering about whatever else happened, don't read into it too much, was practically what it said. That pissed me off so much I stopped reading that series.
Yeah, no, it is sort of frustrating because they used that deal as a way to retcon some of the original like bad storylines, like the Clone Saga with Jackal and the Scarlet Spiders and shit, which I love the Scarlet Spiders. They are some of the coolest fucking characters in the Spider-Man universe.
I understand that, and I understand that was like that they needed to retcon that stuff. But there were so many storylines that were not finished, like with him having the upgraded powers, and there was the Grey Goblin, who was Norman Osborn and who was Emma Stone's character in
Gwen
Stacy. Yeah, it was Norman Osborn and Gwen Stacy's child.
Oh God.
What?
Yes.
Gwen likes DILFs?
Peter never hit, but like Norman hit. And
wait. Pause.
Kevin, if you didn't know this, this is an actually canon story.
Wait, no.
Actually canon story where Gwen Stacy cheats on Spider-Man with Norman Osborn, gets pregnant, and then that's supposed to explain why Norman Osborn killed Gwen.
Wait.
Those early not.
Wait, pause.
70s maybe? Oh.
Gwen likes DILFs.
Yeah.
Like, and also what I get from this, she's a gold digger.
Well,
I said what I said. She said.
I think Norman blackmailed her into something like.
Oh, so it was rape. What?
Yeah, it was. It was definitely not completely.
It definitely wasn't.
Like it wasn't like she.
So
was
wait,
like,
so
yes,
that's kind of fucked up then. That's definitely fucked up then.
It's the Green Goblin. Like what he was gonna do? Take her out to dinner? Like
I probably.
He's raping her.
Yeah,
no, that's fucked up.
Imagine
so fucked
receiving.
up.
Kevin, imagine receiving a brand new, crisp Spider-Man comic for your birthday. Oh, it's the new edition. It's the new story. It's gonna be so good. I'm 12 years old, and then you read it.
Oh my god, you see fucking goblin rape. Like,
Dude, I'm not letting.
This
Dude,
is-
if I ever have a kid, have a kid, he's not reading any comics until he's 16. I'm like, you can't.
I think comics used to be for kids, but nowadays they're more for teenagers. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to know who thought that making a story where a white dude with cornrows rapes Gwen Stacy and that's the story. Like, who does
And
what's
also,
that?
the fact that he's named the Gray Goblin, really?
well, it was because, so here's how it is so that, like, the kids, so Gwen Stacy was trying to send the kids away so that, because she knew that they had the goblin, like, blood. She knew that they were, like growing up at a rapid rate and they were, like, aging at a rapid rate. So she wanted to, like, keep them from Norman. And she was like, these are my kids. You're not touching them. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to build, like, an army. Fuck off. And so that's why Gwen killed, or not Gwen. That's why Norman killed Gwen. And so flash forward, like, years later, we got these two people in, like, suits that are just killing it, killing the game, beating up Peter. And the girl one takes off her mask, looks exactly like Gwen Stacy. We're like, oh, what the hell? Like, what? And so we're figuring all this shit out later on, like, middle. Gwen Stacy dies, and the brother is freaking out because I think they're like they're aging so rapidly that if they don't find something, they're gonna die soon. Gwen Stacy gets shot by somebody, so she's just dead. Like the Gwen Stacy daughter, yeah, and or something like that. And
Wait,
so the guy completely like also they got raised and brainwashed that Spider-Man was their dad, and Spider-Man was the one that raped Gwen Stacy, and that Spider-Man was the one that they needed to kill. They got raised and brainwashed to believe that. So there's all this shit. And so he sits there, he goes into the island, like he's like, or not the island, or he finds like some Norman Osborn base, like where like Norman was like, hey, go and do this thing when you finally get to New York, or like whenever you like need the thing. And it's a more concentrated version of the Green Goblin serum, and that's what turns him into the Great Goblin. There were like two costumes up on the wall. The Gwen Stacy one.
So the girl that looked like Gwen Stacy, was it actually? It was Gwen Stacy's body.
It was Gwen Stacy's daughter.
Okay, she just so it was just like the daughter. I thought here's what I thought. Here's where I thought you were gonna go with that. I thought what was gonna happen was Gwen Stacy was gonna die, but she was gonna get brainwashed because the daughter got shot, and she was gonna replace the daughter. And I was like, whoa. But
no. The children, like, and what also pissed me off about this whole thing was that like he receives like a phone call or a letter or whatever the fuck it was. I can't remember. Oh no, it was MJ told him. MJ knew the whole time. MJ was like, yo, like I found out the day she died and I didn't want to tell you because I knew you like held her in such honor, but like I tell you that this shit happened. And like he's now married to Mary Jane. He was married to her for a while, separated, married to her again, has been dating her for a while. He's maybe in his 30s. This shit happened when he was 18, 19 maybe, like in his teens. Mm-hmm. He's there crying and going like, oh, Gwen Stacy's like my biggest regret. Like his wife's right there. And yeah, like I'd be upset.
He's sitting there and he's like, he's sitting there and he's like, she's the one that got away as his wife's like at the kitchen table.
That's the whole vibes I got. He's sitting there and so angry that he is trashing their joint studio apartment that I'm pretty sure she pays for. His ex-girlfriend had kids with his arch nemesis. Like that was and it was a business contract. It wasn't necessarily. It was a business.
That's still fucked up though. Like a business contract for sex. That's like, yo, like I'm blackmailing you. Like if you don't do this, I'm gonna do some messed up stuff. Okay. I feel like we got a lot actually,
Yeah.
I feel like we got a lot said.
Yes.
We've been going for almost an hour. So I wanted to cut it off because we could sit here and talk for hours about this.
Yes.
But I drove 9 hours today and I am exhausted and I want to edit this and go to sleep. Because I have class tomorrow morning. So we like to end off these stories with, or we like to end off these episodes with stories. This is definitely going to be one of like the most entertaining podcast episodes. I'm gonna upload it actually at night on Monday instead of in the morning. We usually upload it around like 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. that kind of time frame. But tomorrow it's probably gonna be uploaded at like 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. time frame. And that's just because I'm going to finish this podcast, go to sleep, wake up tomorrow, edit it, go to class, and do all that fun stuff. But Neil has a story about how he broke his arm. He has a scar to prove it. He had to have surgery. Neil actually had Neil actually had a pretty eventful life ever since he's turned 21. He turned 21 pretty much almost a year ago now. Almost a year ago. So Neil, take the story away. I do want to preface this actually real quick. Me and Luke were actually not involved in this story. This is a very Neil heavy story. And everyone that Neil was with at the time were his friends from Charlotte, and they were all 21, and they were pretty much there celebrating Neil turning 21.
Everyone involved in this story is of age to do whatever stupid shit they want to do, and they did some stupid shit.
So I was hanging out with some people, and I drank a little over a half a bottle of Fireball, and we're hanging out. It's towards the end of the night, and like everybody starts to head upstairs to go to bed, and I'm upstairs like ready to go to bed, and then I realize that one of my buddies is still downstairs by like the pool and stuff, and I'm like, okay, like he's with his girlfriend, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but they were both going a little hard in the paint, and I needed to go check on him. So I went downstairs to check on him, and like my buddy Rick was like, oh, you gotta be careful, like just like be careful going downstairs. I'm like, yeah, I got it. Take one step, immediately start tumbling. I go, and like the stairs are curved like an L with no step in between the curve. And so I was able to catch myself, but then I go backwards a little bit and I fall again down the stairs. And at this point, I get up, and like I was pretty drunk. So I get up, and I also had kidney stones like a few months before that. So my pain tolerance was pretty high. So I get up and I'm like, okay guys, that was a lot, but what's going on? And like Rick rushes down the stairs. Like my buddy John's girlfriend comes over to me and like starts helping me out. And like she grabs a towel because apparently I'm bleeding out of my head. Like, yeah, I think I have a scar there. I don't know if y'all can see it. But yeah, and so like there's just blood running down my face. And I look down at my wrist, and it looks like that scene from Harry Potter when they take the bones out of his wrist. Like, oh, it was the worst.
Just
like
completely floppy and just.
Yeah, it was because it was like going like up and over.
Yeah,
like,
dude. Yeah. I also want to say I was asleep. Okay, I wake up at 8 a.m. the next day because I had some big stuff to do, and I wake up to a picture of Neil's arm just not straight, and I was like,
"Oh my god!" The picture was gruesome. It was literally his arm going like.
I woke up, and I like look at my phone. You know, my alarm goes off. I'm like, oh, I look at my phone, face it towards me. The first thing I see, a bloody head and an arm that is not straight anymore. And I was like, this is a way to start a day. I was like...
The first part was that I go to the hospital and they stitch up my head, and then they're like, okay, well, since your wrist is basically just like a bag of mush, we got to send you to a different place that it has like a specialist on board. And well, they had to put a series of like numbing stuff in my wrist and kind of put the bones back into the general location.
Oh.
They missed 7 times with the numbing stuff. They missed 7 times, and it was awful. It was awful. And so
God.
then they're just like molding my wrist like Play-Doh, and it's awful. And so then they send me to the different hospital, and I'm waiting in a room just waiting to have surgery because they were like, we're probably gonna have to push you till Monday, but we just gotta see. And then they look at my wrist through an X-ray, and they're like, yeah, you're gonna get surgery at like 3 a.m. Like,
Yeah.
like I think I had like the first one at 7 a.m. But I go to the different hospital. I'm waiting in my room. I'm watching Adult Swim turn into Cartoon Network, which has never happened to me before. And then,
Oh, shit.
Yo, that's how you know you're staying up late.
exactly. I'm sitting here and I realize that I'm not as drunk as I used to be. And I'm like, oh, hold on. How do hangovers work if I didn't sleep? And then I immediately feel sick to my stomach and I press the call for help nurse button because I've got this tube in my arm from like the IV, so I can't go anywhere. There's the bathroom in the room. I can't get there without the nurse coming in and unhooking me and then taking me there because I'm hooked up to the bed.
Oh.
So I call the nurse and she doesn't make it. And so I have to grab the trash can right next to her and I just start puking in the trash can. And y'all can attest, I vomit loudly.
Oh my God.
He vomits so loudly.
It is gruesome. Like, I swear to God. Yeah, no, like you'll just be like chilling in the other room, and then like Neil will get up, go to the bathroom, and then you'll just hear.
Dude, bro, wait. I have not a whole other story, but a little thing to attest to how loud Neil pukes. So, I used to work at a golf course, and one day I got off late. I got off at like 10 p.m. because there was a lot of stuff that had to be done at the night, right? That was the latest I've ever gotten off. And so I text Neil, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna come over. He goes, okay, cool. I like, just so you know, like I've already started, whatever. I walk into his house and I hear him, and he is upstairs on the opposite side of his house in his bathroom with both of his bathroom doors closed, because it's like a open the door sinks and then open the
Like a
door.
jack and Jill.
Yeah, open the door toilet. And both of those were closed. I am downstairs just walking into his house and I heard it. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, like I throw up violently. So I was like, okay, well, if they didn't see the call nurse thing, then they're going to hear this. Like, so I started throwing up. And apparently that like exacerbated like the stitches that I had just gotten in my forehead. So blood starts rushing out of my forehead. And God bless this nurse. She walks in, sees blood rushing down my face, was not there for me getting my stitches in my forehead. She thought that I was bleeding out of my eye, and she came in, did not even like freak out at all. She walks in and is like, oh, okay, let me get you a towel, like let me start. And I was like, yeah. And then like she was like, and then she like leaned into the hallway and she was like, hey, I need some help, this kid's bleeding out of his eye. And I was like, stitches. And I had to like lift my hair up, but it was the worst.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Down bad. All right.
Yeah, no. Is it bad though that when I first heard that story, the only thing I could think of was, how the fuck does this dumbass fall down a set of stairs
Dude,
with a rifle?
no, here's what killed me. Here's what killed me when he first told me what happened, is when he said earlier that he took a step back. He took a step back to regain his balance, and that step that was supposed to regain his balance made him lose his balance.
You fall again.
He told me that, I was like crying laughing. I was
I
like,
just, like landed on my feet. Like I was trying, I was trying to, but I was just so disoriented. It wasn't even about how drunk I was at that point. It was just that I was dizzy. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I had taken that tumble, I probably would have been disoriented too.
Oh, it was awful.
Jeez.
But yeah, and then now my wrist hasn't been the same, but it's fine.
All right. Well, that has been it. This episode has gone on for a little over an hour. Or with maybe how much we've had to cut, maybe it's a little under an hour.
Maybe like 20 minutes.
Yeah, maybe it's a 20-minute podcast. Who knows? But thank you guys so much for watching. Next week, very exciting. It's actually going to be polar opposite. Actually, not polar opposite, but pretty opposite. Just like two different lanes. We had Neil on this week for talking about comics. Neil was a great guest.
Yes, thank you for appearing on our show.
Yes, definitely want to have you back. Definitely want to have you back.
Yes.
I'm always here to spend an hour talking way too much about comic books. It's the only thing.
Absolutely.
Exactly. But next week we are having a good friend of mine, Gustavo Cordeo. He is coming on the podcast, and pretty much my role in this podcast is going to be Luke's role in the next podcast. We're going to be talking about Spikeball, the new rule changes that came out in 2021, and pretty much like what's going on this summer season.
There's new rules?
Yeah, there's new rule. Yeah, dude, like Spikeball had an update, bro.
There's an update.
Dude, like literally, dude, they nerfed so much
the
stuff.
Spikeball update.
Dude,
What they nerfed? Like,
so all right, baseline.
I'll listen to it on the podcast.
Yeah, you'll listen to it next week. All right.
Save that.
Well, you'll give us the patch notes on the podcast.
Yeah, I'll give you the patch notes of the podcast.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. It has been another great episode of the Daybreak podcast. And I hope to see you guys soon. I also, if you guys are still listening, comment down below what time you want us to start dropping these podcasts, whether you want us to be in the morning, afternoon, or night, and then we will, just like those three, and then we can decide the best time to do it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and peace.